What's up, my know-it-alls? Well, we have a brand new show, Halo, on Paramount Plus. Based on the hit video game series, I've never ever played the games. I've seen them played, obviously, and I've seen a little bit of the story, so I'm coming at this brand spanking new. So, you want a unique perspective? Here we go. In the year 2552, humans on the planet Madrigal have been fighting for independence from Earth, but a fatal encounter with the alien Covenant complicates things. Master Chief John 117 and his super soldier Spartans join the fight. And after the battle, Master Chief heads to his home planet of Reach with a Madrigal survivor and a mysterious object he discovered on the planet. All right, so I'm interested to see what's going on. So the show is, I've read online that it's not super faithful to the plot of the storyline of the games. However, since I'm coming at this completely brand new and just as a story itself, then I don't come at it with any bias. So I'm going to be coming at it really clean. If you're looking for someone who knows the games and knows the lore to sit here and complain about stuff, I'm not the guy. I'm going to take this as I do every other sci-fi series and just kind of give it my review. So the episode starts with, the episode, by the way, is called Contact, and it starts with a really cool kind of pan up of the planet Madrigal. This is considered a Tier 4 heavy water extraction planet, which I guess, I don't know, all those places are, but it's in the UEG outer colonies, so there's a sort of a galaxy, or there's an area of space, rather, and, sorry, I'm stuck with Star Trek and Star Wars in the brain. So it's like galaxies and universes. But no, so it's really cool looking too. When they pan up to the thing, you get to see this really neat look. And there's a bunch of people who are there kind of in a bar setting. You get to see the propaganda news on and whatnot. And you see these guys who are all kind of sitting around talking and telling stories about stuff. And this one guy who's a young kid is kind of mouthing off a little bit and being real lippy. And at the end of the day, they're like, look, man, you wouldn't stand a chance. And he's like, well, I faced Marines. He's like, yeah, Spartans aren't Marines. And I got to admit, he's absolutely correct. So what you end up with is you meet a girl, you go to the outer edges of town, and you see there's a girl who is apparently related to, she's the daughter of the general. And we met the general at the very beginning of this thing. And these are considered insurrectionists. They're a colony that wants to separate from the rest of the UEG. And so they are very much on the lookout for UNSC forces and whatnot. And so this girl's with her friends. They're partying. They're going out and about. Not the CGI is not the greatest, at least not CGI. I'm sorry. The green screen's not the greatest in some of the scenes. Some of the scenes do look practical, but when they're in the forest. But there's this one where they're walking up on top of a ledge, and you can see the colony sort of refinery area. Not the best, but especially considering how long it's taken us to get this series. So, but these kids are apparently out there. They're looking for these special kind of plants or whatever that ultimately make them high. And so, yeah. It's a bunch of these kids causing trouble, and then the general's daughter sees a glint of something, and this is the very first time we see something completely unknown, and the show defines what it's going to be quickly. A blast from nowhere just obliterates this girl's friend. And she's got blood all over her, and then this thing we can't see comes racing through, and it's just knocking out all her enemies. So she goes, all her friends rather, and she goes running, and she heads straight to the thing, and she falls down this hill, and then she shoots a red flare, and everyone's like, red flare, and the general's like, oh, and so they think the UNC's coming with army and military, whatever. And so they're all ready, and then all of a sudden you see everybody ready, and they're panning through, and then boom, in comes the Covenant. And these aliens, they're pretty hardcore. They look good. I like the CGI. Now I'm talking about CGI, but they lay waste to these guys. So then there's the kid from earlier in the bar. He runs up to where the general's daughter has hidden with where she had hidden the kids and some other young people and whatnot in what they call a vault. and then this laser sword thing comes in. It's like it just melts through the metal, and it's the classic energy weapon that we've seen in advertisements. Or I saw in advertisements for the game years ago, and pretty cool. So again, I've seen the game played, so I understand that visually there's a lot of things happening that are pretty faithful. And of course, they're trying to shoot at the alien, the Covenant, and they have energy shields and whatnot. So that's when, as things are getting real rock and roll bad, you see a Pelican, which is what they call their ships, come flying in, and a single figure comes falling straight down and lands in a classic superhero pose. And we get our very first shot of Master Chief, the character. So he's a mixture of CGI and not. And the reason it's CGI him versus not is because the CGI him, one, will do crazy jumps across buildings and stuff, or the edifices and things. And it looks like jumpy. By that I mean, so good visual effects will marry the character to the scene specifically. This looks like a character that was pre-rendered and then overlaid, because he's kind of like making moves and things like that. But it's almost like they didn't animate him to physically move through the terrain. He's like a character who's like in place, running, jumping, and then running, and then they're in post moving that figure in the hopes it will match the movements of the camera. That's what I mean by bad CGI and bad VFX. Visually, the renders look good, but they weren't married to the scenes, probably till much later in post. Just again, this is my film industry experience coming out. But when you get to the dude in the outfit, he looks dope. And so he sees him do the thing. And then what's awesome is you get, and I know this much, you get the in-camera HUD view, or in-helmet HUD view, and you see the nose of the gun. This particular moment is how you do this right. Years ago, there was a movie called Doom, based on the old Doom video games with The Rock in it, Dwayne Johnson, and they tried very much to do this kind of a thing, and it felt super contrived. This looks good. This actually looks like what I've seen some video or cinemas scenes or cut scenes from the game. So I was really kind of like, oh, okay, cool. That's pretty dope. And then, of course, he's running around and doing stuff, and they show all three. So him and his other group, by the way, other Spartans show up. There's a total of 4 of them. And man, if they don't each take out 2 people. And then you got another guy who has Overwatch, and he's there with the big giant space sniper rifle. And they're just wasting some fools. And they're wrecking Covenant guys all over the place. It's actually pretty cool. You get to see the general who also he's looking in the vault thing, and you get to see that earlier when the Covenant guy put the sword through the door, he opened it and then he butchered all the children. So they're trying to show us just how ruthless the Covenant is. The next scene, though, is very much reminiscent of the next moment is reminiscent of what I'm talking about. Again, some bad CGI. The Covenant dude looks good. And he picks up the general and shoves his sword through him, and even that looks good. But then they show briefly a moment where the Covenant guy's holding the general by the neck, and that looks bad. There's a forced shadow under the hand. It's not, whatever. Anyway, they're not marrying their elements well. The elements look good, but they're not being married together right. So sure enough, they've cleared the area, and Master Chief says, we got to go find the ship and where they landed. And you get this really awesome intro sequence, and the intro sequence ends with this dope scene that's really about to become my wallpaper, because this thing looks really dope. Go ahead and check the Mr. Know-It-All channels and social medias. I'm probably going to use this as a thumbnail for this video. And so then they find the ship, and they find that underneath the ship, they find the Covenant's been searching for something. Nobody knows what. We're not figuring out what it is. Then there's this cool looking rock thing. They call it stone, but it looks like technology of some kind. Master Chief touches it, and as soon as he touches it, it lights up, and you see lights and everything, and it's very reminiscent of again cutscenes I've seen from the game. They do seem to be pretty faithful to the visual style of the games, and I love that. Also, I think that the way they're handling action, also I love. So again, a lot of good things happening at the same time. And then finally we cut, so he goes through this experience where he sees what he thinks are visions. It's a kid, a dog, someone's family. And he tells the other person about it, whatnot, and then they all make the decision to split up. And he says, "Hey, I'm gonna go ahead and go one way. You guys go another." And he's gonna take the thing back to UNC. And we get our first shot of Dr. Halsey. She's at Reach Fleetcom, which is located on Reach. And so Dr. Halsey is reviewing on a giant screen, and she sees all the Master Chief's stuff and whatnot, and she catches the first sign of what happened, and then the Admiral shows up, and the Admiral's a pretty mean woman, and she comes in and she's questioning all kinds of things, and she happens to catch out of the corner of her eye a little area, and she looks and she's like, "I thought I told you not to work on this." You go in later on, you see Halsey's apparently working on clones and cloning, and so we don't. Yeah. Anyway, well, hang on. So she wants to see the artifact, but the Admiral is like, "No, we're going to give it to so-and-so. You'll find out more about who so-and-so is in a minute." So then we cut to a place called High Charity, which is the Covenant Command. Looks like a big giant brain or a brain stem or something in space. It's fairly interesting looking, and you get to see this interchange between a Covenant guy who looks like all the other alien people, and then there's someone who looks human. And they're all speaking the language and and I can't tell if she's a clone or not, but apparently they're telling her that one of the Spartans, the one they call Demon, is he touched the artifact and was able to activate it the same way this girl can. So there's all kinds of so we're getting this idea that we're seeing the bigger world and the bigger plot potential. And so we cut to back on the ship, the Pelican, and the girl wakes up and she sees Master Chief, and he's kind of just sitting there in his own head. Later on, you find out he gets all kinds of information in his HUD. Again, those of you who are familiar with the games, you guys already know this, so forgive me. I'm kind of just informing some other people and talking about this in general. And so this woman shows up, and she's very young, though. That's why I said girl. And she's the person who's working on military and Covenant and alien artifact research and things like that. And she tries to talk to the girl and get the girl to says, "Help him! Can you help me? We need to tell the other. This is the real war." And she tells the girl, who later on you find her name's Kwon. Kwon is the general's daughter. And she tells him, "Listen, this is what we're really facing. This is the real war. I need you to help us." And Kwon's like, "I'm not going to help you, whatever." So then we cut back a little bit later into where the young lady with the military who's doing research, her father shows up, and he's also a higher up muckety muck in the military. And he tells her, "Hey, listen, I wanted to come tell you, Kwon succumbed to her injuries." And girl's like, "What are you talking about? I just talked to her." And he's like, "Yeah, there's this thing called an Article 72. Article 72 is a kill order. And apparently when they flag, when the UNC or the UEG or whatever, so many acronyms, so many acronyms. But when they deem you a threat, they then eliminate that threat. And later on, you find out actually that Kwon had the same experience. Her mother was a rebel, sort of insurrectionist, if you will, who was terminated by Master Chief and another Spartan because they were Article 72. Anyway, so you also then find out that this young lady is Dr. Miranda Keyes. Come to find out, Dr. Miranda Keyes is the daughter of her father, obviously Captain Jacob Keyes, and Dr. Catherine Halsey. Yeah, I actually, now I said that all like, ooh, you guys again who've seen the series, who've seen this stuff I don't know how close the story is to all this, so please take my amazement and fascination with the story and storyline and plot. Because by the way, I know Halo is steeped in history and lore. And we have been waiting for a series for a long time. It's supposed to be a movie, it's supposed to be a series, supposed to be whatever. I loved the Fall of Reach, which was an amazing short. I think it was a short film. Anyways, I liked it. I loved it. It also had the original voice of the guy from The Thing, and I do kind of miss him. I miss that voice. I loved that thing. I may do a review about that because it was actually pretty good, and I had no clue what I was getting into. But then when he shows up, Master Chief shows up in that, it's amazing. Anyway, Kwon is talking to Master Chief, who is not eating, and then all of a sudden, while they're talking, and she tells him the story again, regales him with the story of her mom. All of a sudden, bloop, bloop, and his head's up. That's right, Article 72, issued an order to terminate. Master Chief then proceeds to go and turn off the cameras in the ship. Well, this flags everything over and back in HQ, and they're like, "Hey, the Admiral's like, what's going on? Look, why is your Spartan not doing his job? What's happening? I'm worried." And she's like, "I don't know," and so that's not a good thing. So then they decide to take it upon themselves. They cut the oxygen, and start literally. He passes out. She passes out. And but then, you think that's how you take out Master Chief? Shut up. He proceeds to retake the atmosphere and wake. So with 40, very low oxygen, he should be knocked unconscious. He rolls over, goes to a panel, does a thing. The atmosphere comes back. The girl then proceeds to wake up. Oh, they're upset, by the way. They are sending or getting ready to send everything. And so, meanwhile, the girl wakes up, she grabs his gun, he's trying to fix some stuff, and she's like, "You gotta stop it, blah, blah, blah." And he turns around, and she's like, "I'm gonna kill you." And he goes, "This armor?" It's called Mjolnir armor. Love that, by the way. And it's like Mark 6 Mjolnir armor. And she's all like, he goes, you won't make a dent in this. And then he proceeds to take his helmet off, and he's like, "If you want to kill me, you're gonna have to do it right here." And it's our first time seeing his face. I don't know how happy I am about that. I'm sorry. I just got finished watching 2 seasons, 3 if you count Book of Boba Fett, of shows where guys wear masks predominantly, helmets, and only reveal their faces when needed. And I don't even know who this actor is, by the way, who plays Master Chief. He is an actor named Pablo Schreiber. Schreiber? Maybe Schreiber. Let me see what his background is, what his history is. Whatever. Anyway, so I'm trying to figure out who he's 6'5", big boy. I'm taller than him. I'm 6'7". I'm totally considering I may invest about $1,000 in getting a Master Chief outfit made. Probably cost more than that, but anyway, because I think I'd be a dope Spartan. Bro, I'm 6'7". I'm already a big boy to begin with. I just anyway. So, and then you spend the rest of the episode with him with his helmet off, and I'm not happy with that decision. I'm like, you guys couldn't have even given us 3 episodes without seeing his face before you finally did that. I don't know, whatever. I'm just not, I'm not happy with that. Anyways, and so then they're like legit. They arrive, and he's trying to take control of the ship, and his act that he did taking the helmet off convinced the girl, Kwon, that it's okay to trust him. And so she's like, "What do you do?" The Pelican comes in. He's trying to take control of the AI. He dismantles the AI, but they manage to shoot him down with like a railgun or something. They bring the whole army. The whole army. And the 3 Spartans are also mobilized at the same time. Halsey meets with them and says, "I don't care what happens, you protect John by all means." And they're like, "Against friendlies?" And the dude's like, "Anybody trying to take out Master Chief isn't a friendly." And I'm like, right on, bro. Dope. And they're ready to do just that until Master Chief manages to grab the device. And when he grabs the device, it unleashes a weird kind of EMP thing that reverses it powers up the Pelican, but takes out briefly everything for Reach. And so, and then they manage to escape, and it's on. I'm excited. It's not a bad show. It was a good opening. It was a really good opening. CGI issues aside, I'm going to go ahead and give this in the Know-It-All Index a 7. Yeah, give it a 7. Not a bad start. Not a bad start. I'm in. We'll see what it does. It's going to make for some pretty long mornings doing this on the same day as Picard for now. But either way, Yeah, man, I'm down. So there you go. Now you know. And if knowing is half the battle, you're halfway to being a know-it-all yourself. So, like, subscribe, comment below. I totally would love to hear what you have to say about the show. Click the little bell icon to be notified when new content drops. And yeah, man, I can't wait to see you next week. Never forget, everyone loves a know-it-all.